Okay.
Hot mic.
Well, you didn't swear yet.
No, I meant you're looking hot today, Mike.
Oh, I get it. Hello, and welcome to the Retirable Podcast. I'm Mike Wallace.
I'm John Sauger.
So John, I'm kind of excited today about being able to have a guest. We've been kind of talking back and forth, you and I, for quite a while, and it's going to be kind of excited to bring in a different perspective today.
Well, and it's fantastic because I think you hear so many different things out in the media, so many different things talking about what's going on in the stock market and what's going on. And Tom is one of the guys that we track and monitor and listen to. And a lot of people have heard from him before. He's got such a great background. You're going to hear some great stuff from him, particularly like the tonality in his voice. He's not panicked right now. You know, you hear from clients going, "Oh, things terrible. Are things awful? Oh, I feel bad for you, Mike, because things must be crazy." And you're going, "No, I'm okay. I'm all right." But I appreciate that. But you hear that from Tom going, "Hey, settle in. It's okay."
Well, and what's great to hear from is because as advisors, we rely on many different voices and different people with different perspectives in the marketplace. And his full-time job is to watch the market.
Right.
We deal with clients every day, and we're dealing with the families that we serve on a daily basis. And so it's kind of nice to get a perspective directly like that.
Well, and we're underselling that. His full-time job is to do that. He has a team underneath him that he meets with on a regular basis that talk about these things, and they all have licenses and designations and backgrounds and long times of seeing this and experience this and watching this. And so it's really good to hear from that type of a viewpoint instead of somebody that's trying to, you'll hear him mention, instead of somebody trying to sell you something on or make you feel anxious or nervous or scared. It's somebody just simply saying, this is what good planning means. This is where we should be at. I think people will really enjoy this. And so we'll get it going.
All right. We are very fortunate today because we have a very special guest. His name is Tom Siomades. Is that right now, Tom?
No, yes, sir. Good job. Excellent.
Okay. He said he's Greek, and so I had to pronounce his name, and I don't want to butcher it, and I probably did anyways. But he's a chief marketing economist with AE Wealth Management out of Topeka, Kansas. And so his full-time job is watching the markets. And so I want to kind of start this time by discussing, we're just in a really weird time right now, and it just happens to be very timely. But we're in the middle of the tariffs right now. So I just wanted to, let's talk tariffs a little bit. Ultimately, what do you think will be the market impact of the tariffs? And what is your thoughts right now with it?
Yeah, so you mentioned that I watch the markets. And I think after this week, I'm legally blind from watching it. Listen, here's the way I look at it. The market, when we came out of last year and into January, was priced about as perfectly as it could be priced. I don't know necessarily that the turmoil over the tariffs is the reason, other than just being an excuse, right? People wanted to cash out, park stuff aside. And when you introduce something as massive as trying to basically upend the global world trading order, man, that sends a huge like blast of uncertainty through the markets. And so I think markets reacted the way markets would. They were literally like at the pinnacle, doing that tightrope thing, and everything was perfect. And then they're like, okay, something new's coming down the pike. Don't know what the impact's going to be. And honestly, we can talk about what the potential impact would be, but I think the market grossly overreacted to this, this stimulus. Now, if this persists for the next year, 6 months, 9 months, maybe they didn't overreact. But the whole tariff thing is not that big of an impact the way the market is making it look.
Well, and there were tariffs in effect in certain parts of the world already, right? I mean, that it's not like this was brand new idea, and it's not like President Trump didn't talk about this. He forecast that he was going to do it. So it did seem to be a lot overblown. You're right. We agree with that.
I think the big part with it was not necessarily that he talked about it, that he happened. It's just kind of like everyone's going to disagree with how things go down.
Sure.
Right. I don't think anyone disagrees that the government is inefficient and there's waste and stuff going on. I think people are upset that it's not being done the way they would have done it, right?
Right.
And the tariff thing was another one. It's like, when you think about the whole point of why the U.S. opened its markets, like, think about it. We were in a Cold War with the Russians, right? It was like there were two bars on either side of the street. We became the bar that had a happy hour and dollar drafts, and the other guys weren't. So we wanted everybody to come to our bar. And so that's why we opened up our markets. That's why we encouraged it. And then, the bar down the street that wasn't doing that went out of business, Soviet Empire. Okay. So now why should we continue to bend over backwards to help everyone when, it's not in our national interest, right? So that's sort of the 20,000 foot view, if you think of it. And, no one's saying, oh, we're going to tariff you more than you tariff us. All that's being asked is like, let's level the playing field. You charge us, we don't charge you. How about you don't charge us at all, and we'll get back on with it. But it's a messy process. Did you want to pick a fight with the whole world? Probably not the way some of us would have done it. But it's something that needs to happen. We need to have a fair sort of balance of trade, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Well, and Tom, for those people listening that are a client of Mike or client of mine, you hear from Tom every quarter. If you're a client of Financial Services America, Tom is the one that puts out the quarterly updates that we will reference all the time, every quarter. So you've heard this kind of conversation before. You've heard it's long-term planning. Have a good plan. And I know, Tom, you've mentioned this already to us behind the scenes is, hey, if you're having a good plan, then this isn't impacting every part of your dollars. You have some money in some safety. You have some money not tied to the market. You have some long-term plan. And if you have good holdings, it's okay to ride this out. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think, listen, at the end of the day, if anything, the past couple of weeks have shown is that you can't react to everything in the moment. You're never gonna win.
Sure.
Where you find comfort is in having a plan and sticking to it. And I mean, think about this. I mean, with the way markets and the velocity with which they move between algorithms and computer trading and all this other kind of stuff, there's no way you can get out from in front of that or stay ahead of that. So the next thing you can do is where you say, well, am I screwed as an investor? No, you're not. You have a plan, and it should be strategic, right? So
Absolutely.
just like you smooth out kind of what the market, the ups and the downs, that's what your plan is meant to just keep you on track, right? Longer term, instead of trying to be a day trader or, a market manipulator or whatever you want to call it, stock picker,
Sure,
all that
sure.
kind of stuff. It doesn't fit in with the whole point of being retired potentially or getting on your way to being retired and having less stress in your life, right?
Well,
and that's
I was just going to say it's an interesting conversation because we talk with people a lot about you're not trying to grow your account value per se. You're trying to grow your net worth. And so there's different ways of going about that. This may be an opportunity where you say, hey, I'm doing a market time Roth conversion while the market was down, or, I'm wiping out some taxes, or I'm maybe doing some tax loss harvesting, right? Some opportunities to try and grow your net worth, not just the bottom line in a particular account. Like you said, you're not always going to be able to do that in a given time. You're looking for a good plan that gives you opportunities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I would say to people, listen, at the end of the day, right? It's your goals are what should matter, right? Because I don't know what a 10% a year retirement means, or a 10% income flow. Can you live well on 8.9, or do you really need 12.4? That's subjective. But at the end of the day, it really should be what your goals are, right? So if you have a good, stable plan that you're comfortable with, first thing should be is you shouldn't be stressed out. You know, you get to a point in your life, I mean, it's 2025, most advanced society in human history. You have assets and you have free time. Why do you want to spend your time stressing out and freaking out? So that should be the first part of the plan, right? Is this going to allow me to sleep comfortably at night, not wake up? And every couple of years when we have this kind of stuff, John, the old joke comes out, man, how do you sleep at night? I sleep like a baby. I wake up crying every 2 hours, right? Which is kind of funny. So we got that out of the way. But my point is, you have other components to your plan. You may have an annuity. You may have, some sort of other retirement vehicle in there, life insurance, things like that. Those are all things that all come to play. And at the end of the day, what you should be asking yourself is, am I on track to meet my goals? The stock market is one thing, okay? It's one part of your basket of tools. And the problem is because people spend their time, not constructively, in my opinion. When they retire, they're sitting there and they're watching CNN or CNBC or Fox News, and they're getting flipped out because they're watching, the banners. 100%. It was hilarious yesterday, right? It's like the entire morning you see the banner that says, market sell-off, and literally within a second, it's market rally. And
it's
crazy. So you can't live that way and maintain your mental, stability at that point, I would think.
Well, and you look at it as we're watching those types of things. It's very interesting, like you said, the people getting frustrated or looking at the big picture stuff. It's really hard to separate yourself in any part of life, whether you're retired or not, to separate yourself from kind of what the media might be telling you or what you're seeing in your different algorithmic feeds and social media and all these different parts. It's really hard to just kind of step away. But what I love hearing you say is, hey, that should be part of your plan. You don't need to be doing this every day. You've run the race. You're working with a professional. You're looking to hire a professional that says, "Hey, we have a big picture plan. Let's ride this out. Things are okay." All of a sudden, certain companies didn't become terrible overnight, right? We sort of kind of got lulled to sleep over the last few years because the market did so well and people thought that was the norm. No, this is normal market fluctuation. Things go up and things go down. That's the process of an efficient market. Like you said, figuring out where the pricing should be.
Well, and I think more importantly, a lot of it is we're looking at a week snapshot in time. This is a long-term play, or a day even. You're right. So now we're dealing with something that, maybe, a 5-year, 10-year, 25-year time horizon. And so we can't get all stressed out about a couple days.
Yeah, I would throw out, just to give people some perspective, okay? And I think that's what the most important thing is.
Yes,
people
absolutely.
Kind of place. Just like step back and take a look and see what's going on, right? When I got into this business, and I don't mean to date myself, but I will, the total value of the S&P 500 was 350. We had 474 points of upside. The entire value up until 1990 of the S&P, literally in one day.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? Because the market has a propensity. If it was a loser's game, nobody would invest in the market. Right. The market goes up 75% of the time. I heard you guys talking about the Tigers, right? You tell me what hitter on the Tigers hit 750.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a Hall of Fame in baseball is 300, right?
Maybe Ty Cobb, but he used to lie all the time, right? So, but my point is, the stock market is up 75% of the time, right? What coach would get fired if they won 75% of their games? When are you right 3/4 of the time in anything? And yet the market is that. And that's how it can go from 350 in 1990 to 5,300 in 2025, right? So within that period, I'm sure there were plenty of down days. You had the .com, you had the financial crisis, you had COVID. It goes on and on. But the fact of it is, it always comes back. And it's, I've yet in my lifetime anyway, I haven't seen this thing where, we've had like a 70s kind of situation. I don't, where nothing happened for 10 years. But that's one time 50 years ago.
50 years. Yeah.
And I don't think we're there. So, the market, again, like you said, goes up and down. Usually it's preferences. It's an optimistic mechanism, right? And people don't invest for the future if they think the future is going to be bad, right?
Correct.
So when you think about that, that's the way you got to look at it. And then the other part I would say is, as people get consistently bombarded with bad info, like they said, even in the best of times, news is still negative, something like 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Because
right.
that sells. People, you see it on the highway when you see a wreck, or, like coming up next, we'll hear about the person who burned his house now. Okay. Yeah. Well, why do we do that? Because we're human beings and that's what we react to. So these people know that. And there's not 24 hours worth of news every day.
No, not at all.
There's 24 hours of advertising every day. There's 24 hours of opinion.
It can't always be breaking news. It can't always be breaking news.
But yet we're lulled into that because we're sucked into it. And whether it's on your social media feeds or whether it's on TV or wherever. And what that does is that it erodes your sense of confidence, and it erodes your kind of sense of reality. And you think that the whole world is literally caving in on you when you just turn that crap off, put the phone down, go outside, garden, take a walk, something.
And I heard someone say this, Tom. I don't know if it was you wrote this, but I heard someone say this just recently that was like, hey, the market's similar to where it was in August, so you have a similar value to what you had 6 months ago. But yet you feel like the world is caving in. How can that be? If you have same money that 6 months ago, you didn't all of a sudden become a millionaire or go broke. You have similar assets what you had. Life hasn't changed. It's just your mindset has changed on it. Settle down and take a breath.
I think, John, it goes back to perspective, right? If 3 years ago, you told people the S&P was going to be at 5,000, all the hands would have gone up. Sign me up. Sign me up. The problem is the S&P went beyond 5,000 and it went to 6,100, right, in February or the end of January, and people get greedy. And again, that's the way we think. We're short-term in nature. We're like, oh my God, I was at 6,100, now I'm at 5,000. But your 3 years ago self was perfectly good with 5,000. You would have been ecstatic. And that's what I was just trying to point out. It's like, listen, the market goes up, it goes down. You just stick with your plan. And granted, I know that people will say, well, I need to retire. I need my money sometimes. I'm not the Harvard endowment. I can't keep investing in perpetuity. Yeah. But that's what you guys are there for, right?
Exactly.
You guys, if it's a journey and it's a train, they tell you what stop they want to get off on, and you guys structure their allocation and their portfolio in such a way that those, you make those stops along the way. And people seem to think of, like we think as a lot of times as people, that it's on or off. And we need to stop thinking about it as it's on or it's not on. It's more like a dimmer. There's nuance to it. And that's what I think people have a hard time with. It's like, market's down. Oh crap. All my money's no, it's not. It's not. You have money set aside to get you through the next 6 months. You have money set aside for the next 3 to 5 years. The money that's at risk right now is what you're putting aside for your grandkids' 529 plan. Yeah. You're not going to need in 15 years. And guess what? Who thinks the market is going to be down 15 years from now?
Not at all. Not at all. Not a chance. Well, and I think that's where this perspective is so great. And Tom, so appreciate this, because it is that when people are going to their traditional sources of what they're listening to. I saw an article the other day that it pointed out, if a economist, like someone that's on the media somehow, if they're wrong because they said they thought the market was going to go down and the market went up, they're generally going to get fired. No one's going to listen to them anymore because people think they're crazy. But if they're wrong because they thought the market was going to go up and it went down, people go, oh, well, that's what's going to happen. And so there's a skew towards people that are trying to be a little more bombastic, a little more, they're on the media, not because they're right, but because they're good to listen to, or they're good at communicating, or they look good on the show, or whatever.
Or they're opinionated.
Well, yeah. and people get stuck in that motion. But Tom, one of the things I appreciate the most out of this conversation is the tone of your voice is it's not condescending saying, oh, you should have known better, right? It's guys, no, let's relax. This is what it is. It's I really appreciate that. I hope people are hearing that part of the conversation, not just what you're saying, but the tone with what you're saying, the comfort and the relaxation of it. That's really important.
Listen, John, the difference between, getting information that you can basically process and make sense of what's going on, it's not entertainment. And I think what you're describing is like we talked about, there's not 24 hours of news. Not everything is breaking, but they need to get you to watch, and they need to get you to, commit. And that's what you do when you get engaged in a hospital show or a police drama. It's no different. It just becomes, we take real news and we make it dramatic and we try to whip you up, and it stresses you out. And, our parents, we say whatever we want about our parents, right, at the end of the day. But, they had some good ones. And one of my favorites is nothing good happens after 10 o'clock at night, right?
Yep.
It's kind of, it's
I
the
was
same.
at 11 o'clock, but it was different time zones.
Yeah, exactly.
Midnight.
Exactly. But the point of it is, right, is at the end of the day, it's like, when you get into an emotional state, because you've allowed yourself to be manipulated into an emotional state, you're not going to make good decisions, right? And, think about what these guys are trying to sell you. They're trying to sell you leaf gutters, and they're trying to sell you, cruises and whatever else. And it's like, all of a sudden we want to feel good. Well, you just spent the last 15, 20 hour, however long I've been watching, making me feel like crap. God, I got to do something to make me feel better. So I'm going to go buy this, thing that this G-Gar that you're trying to get me to buy, and then
get this food or beverage, right?
or relief factor or some kind of cream or something. It's like it's amazing once you kind of open your eyes to it, that you see it for what it is, because it's so easy to get caught up in it,
Well, and I think we're at a spot where you're a phone nowadays, right? You have $1 trillion worth of information in your pocket. I heard someone speak years ago that he said that the average human being, or at least the average American, your phone will be within 3 feet of you 97% of the rest of your life. And a lot of people, there are classes now telling people how to turn this off, how to stop, how to go away from it. That you're right. This is such a great conversation for people to listen to. I hope people come back to this conversation in future times to go, wait a minute, it's okay. I can settle down. I can take a breath, because having a plan and stay to that plan, that's the purpose of it.
Well, and John, another thing you can do is, it's not just the financial aspect of it, is a lot of life is trying to find some way to negotiate the complex world, right? And what I find works for me is just write something down and try to do it, right? Have the discipline to do it. You said 97% of the time people are going to have their phone within 3 feet of them. Hey, how about this? How about you shut your phone off and go outside and not have it for 2 or 3 hours and see how that feels? And do less and less of it. Or just say to yourself, I'm only going to spend 15 minutes in the morning checking my phone, and then I'm off, and then I'll spend 15 minutes in the afternoon. Something like that. But, it's not just the phone, it's everything. See, like we are creatures of habit.
Yeah.
Right. And then when our world gets a little bit wonky, we freak out. And that's what all of these, the media, financial markets, politicians, all these guys thrive on that. Our uncertainty and our vulnerability. And unfortunately, you can drive yourself crazy watching this stuff, but unfortunately, a lot of people make bad financial decisions based on that sense of vulnerability. And that's what I try to tell folks. Listen, you guys, you hire an advisor. That's a really important step, right? Because you have a professional that can help you implement your plan. If your job's not done, your job is also to articulate what it is that you want to do. You don't have to learn a whole new language. No. Okay, you don't have to learn about all the nuances of these financial vehicles. You just need to be able to go in there and say, Mike, John, this is what I want to do. And then you guys implement that plan. And then when I freak out on Friday afternoon because the market is down, 1,500 points, I pick up the phone and I ask you guys, hey, how are we doing? Am I still on track? And that should be all that you need, right? Because if you're not happy with, and you both agree that we're on the wrong track, then you make an adjustment at that point. but at least you have someone who's objective that can look you in the eye and say, listen, Tom, you were sober and I was sober when we wrote up this plan. And we weren't under this cloud of uncertainty and
craziness.
Right? And we were okay with it. What's changed between that? And, earlier, Mike, you talked about all these companies, they didn't disappear.
Yeah.
Is AI still going to be a thing 5 years from now? Right. Sure as hell is. Are we still going to be buying stuff on the internet?
People are still going to need cars. They're still going to need food. They're still going to need phones. There's all the things.
Yeah. And, the one good one I heard is, and it's specific to the stock market, and again, this isn't meant to encourage any kind of market timing or, reallocations, but I heard someone say that the stock market is the only place where it's bad when things are on sale. Think about that.
It's crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
I mean, if you went into your favorite store and whatever you bought was like 50% off, you'd be like, I'm doubling down on this, right?
Absolutely.
And yet if the market's off 10%, like, oh my God, the world's ending. This is horrible.
Yeah.
When you thought it was great, a week ago.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's an awesome spot. I mean, we could talk for hours on this, Tom, but I think the idea was to try and get you in, and we know you're so busy. We so appreciate your time, but I think it was to
appreciate your time.
Is to get a few minutes and hear the thoughts. And I really, really appreciate the way you've explained it. You've articulated it so well for people that hopefully they'll come back to this and hear this more and kind of put this to in their practice.
And what I'm grateful for is that when we set up this interview, this was not the topics we were going to talk about, more than likely, right? Yeah. And so it was very timely to have you here, and I'm just really glad we had this conversation. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I look forward. Hopefully I can come back and, maybe there'll be different circumstances. And
absolutely.
Fantastic. Thanks for the offer. We'll take it up for sure.
Thanks so much, Tom.
Have a great day. Take care.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye now. Well, that was pretty awesome.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it again, just people don't necessarily want to hear all of the accolades, all of the things behind Tom's name. That he's a chartered financial analyst, which is a multi-year process to even get that certification and that designation. He's brilliant guy, and very cool to hear the way he looked at it. Settle down. You have a plan. Stick with the plan. I think it's really, really important. Everyone is telling you, not everyone, but a lot of people are telling you, oh, this has never happened before. This is terrible. Be afraid. Or you're getting people saying, oh, everything is great. And people are now getting concerned because, like Tom said, you're listening to things that you probably shouldn't be listening to. You're letting the media program you, or you're letting the shows you're listening to program you. Take a breath, talk to a planner, make what is your plan? Have a communicate. Hey, what is my plan? Well, my plan is I'm just pulling a number out of the air. I needed 5% in my this portion of money, and I needed 7% in this portion of the money. Well, am I getting that? Yep, I've been averaging that for the last few years. I'm still good, right? You said it earlier. People are looking at this in a short-term time period. If you look at it over a day or over a week, you're panicked. If you look at it over a 10-year period, this is but a blip.
Well, and now with technology, the statistical analysis shows the probability of a lot of this stuff. It's kind of like analytics in baseball we were talking about earlier, right? And so now there's a lot more even certainty than we would even had 10 and 20 years ago because of the analyzing tools that technology provides.
Sure. And I think probably a good spot to leave it. But normally with these episodes, we do our holistic plan then at the end, or our holistic happenings kind of conversation. And I just kind of wanted to bring something to your attention. I thought this was really, really cool. So I have a family that's getting ready to retire, and we talked about all the finances and all the different type of stuff and all the different planning, the healthcare planning, because they're retiring and they're not going to have healthcare. They're actually of age. They're going to shift to Medicare. We talked about, their estate plan. I mean, everything just flowed together. And he called me yesterday and just wanted to chat. And he said, John, I'm so pleased with everything we've talked about. I now want to make sure I get that car I'm looking for in retirement. And I found a couple of vehicles. Can you just touch base with me? Do I have the money to do this? And so it had nothing to do with necessarily planning, but the planning gave him the peace of mind. in his mind, he wanted, and it happened to be a Mustang, but he wanted a Mustang in retirement. And he found a couple of different options of what he was looking for. And he called and he's like, am I crazy for doing this? And it was just such a great conversation because all the other parts that he had peace of mind. And I literally brought it up in the conversation. Well, are you worried about this? Are you worried about this? Are you worried about... And he said, no, I feel great about all those things. I have a plan. I feel great. I'm going to do this. And it was really a great moment. I thanked him so much that he called and told me about it. You know, that it was just, and he turned around and he, you know, kind of put it back on me and, hey, you know, appreciative of it. So it was really cool.
I think what's really cool, and one of the reasons I love my job as well, is there's so many stories like that. You know, we've retired hundreds, if not thousands, of people over our careers, and we've seen some of these people's world or lifetime dreams come true. And so it's kind of nice to see that kind of stuff. And obviously it's rewarding, and it kind of ties back to what Tom was saying too. That's really not about the market. It's about the goals. His goal was to get a Mustang, and you helped him achieve that goal. And so that's what's great about what we do.
Such a cool, and the peace of mind that you can see somebody feel confident with that. So often you buy something and you get buyer's remorse. And he's got no buyer's remorse on this because he's processed it. So it's really, really cool. So yeah, I thought that was a good story just to share for this type of an episode after we've seen all the craziness that people are experiencing. When you're listening to this, it's, hey, bigger picture, things are still going to be okay.
No, that's fantastic. All right. Well, that's a great way to end our story today. Our podcast today.
Podcast is a story. We can say it that way. Sure.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can go to our website, fsa1.com. Our phone number is 1-800-977-9292. You can go to the website and actually go to a workshop through a webinar or in person if you're local. So it's great resource as well. Again, thank you for listening to the Retirable Podcast. My name is Mike Wallace.
My name is John Sauger.
You guys have a wonderful day.
Insurance products are offered through the Insurance Business Financial Services of America, FSA. Financial Services of America is also a financial services practice that offers securities products and services through AE Financial Services, LLC, AEFS. Member FINRA SIPC. Financial Services of America is also an investment advisory practice that offers investment advisory products and services through FSA Advisors, FSAA, a registered investment advisor. AEFS and FSAA do not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Financial Services of America are not subject to regulatory requirements and standards of care applicable to registered representatives, and are not subject to investment advisory requirements. AEFS, FSAA, and FSA are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. The personal opinions expressed by Tom Siomades are his alone and may not be those of AE Wealth Management or the firm hosting this event. AE Wealth Management, LLC, AEWM, is an SEC registered investment advisor, RIA, located in Topeka, Kansas. Registration does not denote any level of skill or qualification. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. FSAA and AEFS are not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by FSAA and AEFS. Compliance reference 4433600-04-2025.